My wife forgot to buy my plane tickets to her sister's wedding that I paid for in Hawaii. Sorry, honey. We forgot to book your seat and the hotel room for you, and now everything is booked. I was the only family member left out. I just said that happens. Then I disappeared for a year, and the kitchen smelled like burnt toast and regret that morning, though I didn't know it yet. I was drinking my third cup of coffee, black, the way I'd learned to take it during those early years when we couldn't afford cream. When Sarah came downstairs with her phone pressed against her chest like a secret. "Melissa's getting married," she said. Her voice had that careful quality it gets when she's about to ask for something. "In Hawaii next spring." I remember smiling. I remember being genuinely happy. Melissa was Sarah's younger sister, the one who backpacked through Southeast Asia for 2 years and came back with stories that made our suburban life feel small. She deserves something beautiful. "That's amazing," I said. "Maui, Big Island, Kauai, the Garden Isle." Sarah poured herself coffee, still not looking at me directly. "It's going to be expensive. The whole family's going. Mom, Dad, Uncle Richard, Aunt Claire, the cousins, everyone." I did the math in my head without thinking about it. That's what 15 years of marriage does. You become a human calculator for family expenses, flights, hotel, wedding gift, new clothes, because nothing I own seemed appropriate for a Hawaiian beach wedding. Maybe $5,000, maybe more. "We can do it," I said. "I've got that bonus coming in March in the savings account." "Actually," Sarah interrupted, and there it was. That word that changes everything. "Actually, I was thinking, since it's such a big expense, maybe I could handle the booking. I'm better at finding deals." And Melissa gave me a family discount code for the resort. If you've ever loved someone, really love them, you know that love makes you stupid. It makes you miss things. Red flags just look like flags when you're viewing them through rose-colored glasses. Isn't that what they say? I should have known then. Should have felt it in my bones the way you feel rain coming. But I didn't. "Sure," I said. "Whatever makes it easier." She kissed me on the cheek. Her lips were cold. That was October. The months that followed had a dreamlike quality. The kind of dream where you're walking through familiar rooms that are just slightly wrong. Sarah spent hours on her laptop, clicking through travel sites, scribbling notes on her iPad. Sometimes I'd come home and find her on the phone with her mother and they'd both go quiet when I walked in. Not suspiciously quiet, just that natural lull in conversation that happens when someone enters a room. "Just wedding stuff," Sarah would say. "You know how Mom gets about planning." I did know. Margaret was a force of nature when it came to family events. She'd organized her own vow renewal like it was a state dinner. I figured Melissa's wedding was probably being planned with military precision. Complete with color-coded spreadsheets and backup plans for the backup plans. In November, Sarah asked me to transfer money to her account. $4,000 to start for the deposits. She explained, the resort needs everything up front because it's peak season and the flights are cheaper if we book now. I transferred the money. I remember hovering my finger over the confirm button for just a moment, feeling something I couldn't name. But Sarah was my wife. Sarah was the person I'd built a life with. Sarah was standing in our kitchen with her hair in that messy bun she wore on weekends, looking tired and a little overwhelmed by all the planning. And I loved her. So I pressed confirm. "Thank you," she said, and she meant it. I could hear it in her voice. That's what made everything that came after so much worse. I don't think she was faking that gratitude. I think she genuinely appreciated me funding my own exclusion. December came with its rituals. We bought a Christmas tree from the lot down the street, the one that smells like pine and hot chocolate. We strung lights around the windows. We wrapped presents for each other and her family and my family, and everything felt normal. Everything felt like 15 years of marriage should feel comfortable, familiar, safe. On Christmas Eve at her parents' house, Melissa cornered me by the dessert table. "I'm so excited you guys are coming," she said, loading her plate with Margaret's famous rum cake. "It's going to be perfect, and I'm glad Sarah's bringing you." I was worried she might come alone. Something in my stomach twisted. Why would she come alone? Melissa laughed, but it sounded uncertain. "Oh, you know, Mom was saying something about how expensive it was getting, and maybe it would be better if it was just blood family, but Sarah shut that down pretty hard. Said you were coming no matter what." I smiled. I made some joke about not missing an open bar in Hawaii. But that twist in my stomach didn't untwist. It stayed there tight and cold, like a fist wrapped around something vital. That night in the car ride home, I almost asked Sarah about it. The words were right there sitting on my tongue. "Did your mom suggest I shouldn't come?" But it was Christmas. Sarah was humming along to the radio some about silver bells and city sidewalks. The dashboard lights made her face look soft and young. The way she'd looked when we first met at that party where neither of us knew anyone. We'd spent the whole night talking in the kitchen, blocking the refrigerator until the host had to ask us to move so people could get more beer. I didn't ask. I reached over and took her hand instead and she squeezed back. Another mistake. Another missed exit on a highway that was taking me somewhere I didn't want to go. January was a blur of work and cold and Sarah taking phone calls in the other room. February came with Valentine's Day. I got her the perfume she'd been wanting. She got me a watch I'd never wear because it was too nice for my daily life. We had dinner at the Italian place downtown, the one where the waiter knows our order. 2 months until Hawaii, Sarah said, twirling pasta around her fork. I can't wait. I'm so pale. I'm practically transparent. Did you finalize all the bookings? I asked. All set. I'll forward you the confirmation emails when we get home. She never did. But again, love makes you stupid. Trust makes you blind. I was working 60-hour weeks on a project that was eating my life. I'd come home exhausted, eat whatever Sarah had ordered or made, and collapse into bed. The wedding was there on the horizon. But it felt distant. Real life was the project, the deadlines, the endless meetings. The wedding was a vacation. The wedding was later. March arrived like a promise. My bonus came through, larger than expected. I transferred another $2,000 to Sarah's account without her even asking. She seemed stressed, distant, spending more time at her sister's apartment and helping with wedding prep. I figured that was normal. I figured I was being a good husband by not complaining about the late dinners and the distracted conversations. One night about 3 weeks before we were supposed to leave, I was lying in bed scrolling through my phone when I decided to look up the resort just out of curiosity. I wanted to see where we'd be staying, maybe get excited about it. The project was finally winding down. I could feel my brain starting to unclench. The Kauai Paradise Resort, 5 stars, ocean view rooms with private balconies, an infinity pool that seemed to pour directly into the Pacific. I could picture Sarah and me there, drinks in hand, watching the sunset. Maybe this would be good for us. Maybe this would reset something that had felt slightly off kilter in our marriage. Though I couldn't name exactly what. I pulled up our joint calendar, the one Sarah maintained religiously, and looked at the dates of the wedding, April 15th through April 22nd. A week in paradise. Then, because I'm thorough in ways that sometimes border on obsessive, I opened my email and searched for any confirmations from the resort or the airline. Sarah had said she'd forward them. I didn't find them, but that wasn't unusual. Sarah was terrible about forwarding things. She probably thought she had and forgot. I thought about texting her. She was at Melissa's apartment, probably looking at seating charts or flower arrangements or whatever occupies the final weeks before a wedding, but it was late, nearly 11 o'clock, and she'd be home soon anyway. I fell asleep with my phone on my chest, the resort's website still glowing in the dark. The Tuesday before we were supposed to leave, I woke up thinking about packing. I'm not someone who packs the night before. I make lists, check them twice, lay everything out days in advance. Sarah used to tease me about it. Called it my dad energy even though we didn't have kids. You'd be the type to have a laminated list of what goes in the diaper bag, she'd say, laughing. I'd laugh, too, 'cause she was probably right. That morning, I opened the closet and started thinking about what to bring. Swim trunks, sunscreen, that linen shirt Sarah had bought me last summer, the one I'd worn exactly once. I was mentally cataloging everything when Sarah came into the bedroom already dressed for work. You're up early, she said, thinking about packing. Want to make sure I don't forget anything. I pulled out the suitcase from the top shelf. Hey, can you forward me those confirmation emails? I want to make sure I have all the details on my phone. Sarah was checking her makeup in the mirror. She didn't turn around. Why? Just to have them, the flight times, the resort info, all that. I have all of it on my phone, she said. Don't worry about it. Something about her tone made me stop. Sarah, just forward me the emails. It takes 2 seconds. She turned around then and her face had an expression I'd never seen before. It was careful, calculated, like she was doing math in her head, trying to figure out how to solve an equation where all the numbers were lies. Okay, she said. I'll send them when I get to work. She kissed me goodbye, left for the office. I stood there in our bedroom with an empty suitcase at my feet and that fist in my stomach, the one that had appeared at Christmas, suddenly clenched so hard I thought I might be sick. I didn't go to work. I called in, said I wasn't feeling well, which wasn't exactly a lie. Then I sat down at my laptop and did what I should have done months ago. I started digging. First, I checked our bank accounts, all of them. Joint checking, joint savings, my personal checking, Sarah's personal checking that she didn't know I had view access to because we'd set it up together years ago and she'd never changed the permissions. $6,000 gone from our joint account in the past 6 months. All transferred to Sarah's personal account. I could see the trail. October, November, December, January, February, March, regular transfers. Like she was siphoning off pieces of our life together. Okay, that tracked wedding expenses. That's what she'd said the money was for. I looked at Sarah's personal account. I expected to see payments to airlines, to the resort, to wedding vendors. What I found instead made my hands start shaking. Shopping, restaurants, a spa day, hair salon, Nordstrom, Sephora, Lululemon, one charged for $800 at a place called Luxe Boutique. Nothing. Absolutely nothing that looked like travel bookings. The largest single charge was $2,200 to a place called Azure Restaurant dated March 10th. I googled it. Azure Restaurant. Fine dining in the city. Tasting menu for $2,600 per person. 42. I tried to remember where Sarah was on March 10th. It was a Friday. I'd worked late. She'd texted saying she was having dinner with Melissa and some bridesmaids. Wedding planning for 2. My heart was doing something irregular, something that felt like it might require medical attention. I kept digging. Credit card statements, phone bills. I went back months, looking for anything that would explain what was happening because something was happening. Something had been happening while I was working 60-hour weeks and being a good husband and transferring money for a trip we were apparently not taking together. In her text messages. God, I'd never looked at her text messages. Never had a reason to. I found a thread with her mother. Recent messages from last week. Margaret, are you sure about this? It seems cruel. Sarah, it's not cruel. It's just easier this way. Less awkward. Margaret, he's going to find out eventually. Sarah, not until we're gone, and by then it won't matter. Margaret, I still think you should tell him. Sarah, Mom, drop it. Please. This is what's best. I read those messages 10 times, 20 times, trying to make them mean something else, trying to bend reality into a shape where my wife wasn't planning something that required my ignorance to work. Then I found it in an email folder I almost missed, buried under spam and store promotions. An email from Hawaiian Airlines, dated December 15th, confirmation for 6 tickets. Margaret Johnson, Richard Johnson, Claire Chen, David Chen, Sarah Anderson, Melissa Johnson. 6 tickets, not 7. I wasn't on the flight. I had never been on the flight. I sat there for a long time. Minutes, hours, I don't know. The laptop screen went dark and I didn't move to wake it up. Outside, I could hear our neighbor mowing his lawn. Someone drove by with their bass too loud. Normal Tuesday sounds in a world that had just cracked open. When I could move again, when I could breathe again, I checked the resort. I called them directly, gave them the confirmation number I found in Sarah's email. Yes, Mr. Anderson, I have your reservation here. 1 Ocean View room, king bed for April 15th through April 22nd. Checked in under Sarah Anderson's name. Is there anything you'd like to modify? How many guests on the reservation? A pause. Keyboard clicking. 2 guests, sir. Would you like to add someone to the room? No, I said. My voice sounded like it was coming from somewhere else. No, that's fine. 2 guests, Sarah and someone. Not Sarah and me. Sarah and someone else in a room I'd paid for at a resort in Hawaii for her sister's wedding that I wasn't invited to attend. I hung up, called back, asked to speak to a manager, confirmed that yes, I was the one who paid for the room. The credit card on file was our joint account. Yes, I wanted to cancel the reservation. No, I didn't care about the cancellation fee. The manager, a kind-sounding woman named Patricia, put me on hold. Came back. Mr. Anderson, I'm showing that this room was booked as part of a group block for the Johnson-Martinez wedding. There's a family discount applied. If you cancel, the discount gets removed from the other rooms as well. Are you sure you want to proceed? What other rooms? More clicking. There are 5 other rooms booked under the same group rate. Looks like 2 double rooms and 3 single rooms. All checking in the same dates. The entire family. Everyone had rooms. Everyone except me. Mr. Anderson, are you still there? Don't cancel it, I said. My brain was working again, but differently now. Sharper, colder. Actually, I need to make a change. Can you transfer the reservation to my name only? Of course. And the other guest will. They need their own room. They'll figure it out, I said. When Sarah came home that night, I was making dinner. Pasta carbonara, her favorite. I'd opened a bottle of wine. I'd set the table with the nice plates we only used when we had company. I'd lit candles. She stood in the doorway of the kitchen, looking at the scene with confusion, and maybe something else. Fear, suspicion. I couldn't tell anymore. Turns out I'd never been good at reading my wife. "What's this?" She asked. Just felt like doing something nice. "We've both been so busy lately." I smiled at her. It didn't feel like my smile. It felt like I was wearing a mask of my own face. Wine. We ate dinner. We talked about nothing. Her day at work. My sudden recovery from my illness. Some show we'd been watching. She was tense. I could see it in the way she held her fork. The way her eyes kept darting to her phone. After dinner, I poured her another glass of wine. Top mine off. "So," I said, "getting excited for Hawaii?" "Yeah, really excited. It's going to be beautiful." She took a long drink. "Melissa's so stressed, though. I think she'll just be happy when it's over." "I bet. Big weddings are a lot." I swirled my wine, watching it catch the candle light. "Did you ever send me those confirmation emails?" She froze just for a second. "Just long enough." "Oh, I forgot. I'll do it now." "Don't worry about it," I said. "Actually, I wanted to talk to you about something." The color drained from her face. Actually drained. I'd always thought that was just an expression, but I watched it happen. She went pale and still, and I knew. In that moment, I knew everything. "I've been thinking," I continued, keeping my voice light, conversational. "The project is wrapping up at work, and I'm exhausted. Like really exhausted. Burned out." She nodded slowly. Didn't speak. "So, I was thinking maybe I should take some extra time off. Not just the week for the wedding, but maybe more. Or maybe a lot more." I met her eyes. "Maybe I should take some time to really figure some things out." "What things?" Her voice was barely above a whisper. "Life things. Marriage things." I smiled again, and this time it felt real 'cause I'd made a decision. Somewhere between finding those messages and cooking dinner, somewhere between calling the resort and setting the table, I decided something. "So, here's what's going to happen. You're going to go to Hawaii. You're going to have an amazing time at your sister's wedding. And while you're gone, I'm going to do some thinking." "Jason, I'm not done." I wasn't angry. That was the strangest part. I'd expected to be angry, to yell, to break things, but what I felt was something colder and clearer. "You're going to have a great trip. And when you come back, we'll talk, really talk about everything." She was crying now. Quiet tears that didn't make a sound. "I can explain." "I'm sure you can, but not tonight." I stood up, started clearing the plates. "Tonight, I think you should maybe stay in the guest room. Give us both some space." "Jason, please." I stopped, looked at her. Really looked at her. This woman I'd loved for 15 years. This stranger sitting at my table, crying crocodile tears over a betrayal she'd planned for months. "Go pack for Hawaii. I'll handle the dishes." She left the room. I heard her footsteps on the stairs, heard the guest room door close. I washed the dishes, I blew out the candles, and I finished the bottle of wine, sitting alone in our kitchen while my wife cried one floor above me, and I started planning. If you've ever wanted to vanish, really vanish, you learn quickly that it's not about going somewhere else. It's about stopping being where you are. It's about becoming a blank space where a person used to be. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in our home office. My home office. Now, that's how I was starting to think of it. And I made lists. I'm good at lists. That dad energy Sarah used to tease me about things I needed to do before she left for Hawaii. Things I needed to do while she was gone. Things I needed to do after. The first list was practical. Separate bank accounts, change passwords on everything, talk to a lawyer, find a place to stay, tell my parents. The second list was harder to write. It was things I needed to understand. Who was going to Hawaii with her? How long had this been planned? Did everyone know? Why? That last one kept staring at me from the page. Why? Such a simple word for such a complicated question. Why would you plan a vacation without your husband? Why would you take money from joint accounts and spend it on yourself? Why would you make plans with someone else? Because there had to be someone else, didn't there? Using money we'd saved together. Why would you let me think I was going right up until the moment it became impossible to go? I thought about that night at Christmas, what Melissa had said about how Sarah had fought for me to come. But that didn't align with the flight bookings from December 15th. Unless Sarah had always planned to uninvite me, unless the whole thing was theater, a performance of being a good wife right up until the curtain fell. At 3 o'clock in the morning, I sent an email to my boss. Family emergency. Need to take the vacation time I'd been banking. 2 weeks starting immediately, possibly extending. He responded within 10 minutes. The guy never slept. No problem. You've earned it. Take care of whatever you need to take care of. At 4 in the morning, I heard Sarah get up. Heard her in the bathroom. Heard her crying again. Part of me, some stupid loyal part that still loved her, wanted to go to her, to hold her. And asked her to explain and believe whatever explanation she gave. I didn't move. At 5, I heard her leave the house. Her car starting, pulling out of the driveway. Going to work early or going somewhere else. I didn't care anymore. I started packing. My brother lives in Portland. We're not close. Distance and time had seen to that. But we're not estranged either. We have the kind of relationship where you can call out of the blue and ask for a favor. And the answer will probably be yes. I need a place to stay, I told him on the phone. For a while, maybe a long while. What happened? Derek has a good voice for crisis. Calm, steady, unquestioning. Sarah and it's complicated. I'll explain when I get there. I just need somewhere to not be here. When? Today. A pause. Okay. Yeah, come up. We've got the spare room. Thanks, Jason. You okay? I thought about that question. Was I okay? My wife had orchestrated my exclusion from her family's life. She'd stolen money from our joint accounts. She'd probably been seeing someone else. Our marriage was over. I knew that with the certainty, the sun will rise. Was I okay? No, I said, but I will be. I drove to the bank first in person because some things need to be done face to face. I opened a new account in only my name, transferred half of our joint savings, my half, the half I'd earned, though even that felt wrong because what is yours and mine in a marriage? I left her half untouched. I'm not a thief. The lawyer's office was second. I didn't have an appointment, but I waited. 3 hours in a lobby with magazines about golf and business, watching other people come and go with their own crises and betrayals. When I finally sat down with Michael Chen, a divorce attorney who came recommended by a colleague who'd been through this, I told him everything. He listened without interrupting, made notes. At the end, he sat back in his chair and Mr. Anderson, I'm going to be honest with you. This is bad, but it's not as bad as it could be. How is this not as bad as it could be? You don't have kids. You've documented everything. You discovered the deception before she left, which means you can act now instead of being blindsided later. And most importantly, you kept your head. A lot of guys in your situation would have confronted her or fought made it ugly. You stayed smart. I don't feel smart. I feel like an idiot for not seeing it sooner. He shook his head. You trusted your wife. That doesn't make you an idiot. That makes you someone who was trying to have a marriage. He pulled out a form. Here's what I recommend. Don't file for divorce yet. Not until we know more. But protect yourself. Document everything. And while she's in Hawaii, I want you to do something for me. What? Disappear. Not legally. You're not trying to hide, but make yourself unavailable. Don't answer her calls. Don't respond to texts. Let her come back to an empty house and an absent husband. See what she does. People reveal themselves when they think no one's watching. That's not manipulative. He smiled grimly. Mr. Anderson, she planned to leave you behind on a family vacation she made you pay for. I think we're past worrying about manipulation. I went home, packed more thoroughly. Clothes for 2 weeks, maybe 3. My laptop, my tablet, chargers, all the boring essentials of modern life. I packed the photo albums from before we went digital because those felt important somehow. Evidence of a time when we were happy or when I thought we were happy, which maybe amounts to the same thing as I left my wedding ring on the kitchen counter just sitting there on the granite. A small circle of gold that suddenly seemed like the punchline to a joke I didn't understand. I left a note short, simple. Sarah, I know. Take your trip. We'll talk when you get back. Jason, I didn't say what I knew. Let her wonder. Let her panic. Let her spend a week in paradise thinking about what was waiting for her at home. I loaded my car, looked at our house, the house we'd bought together 5 years ago, the house we'd painted and furnished and argued about throw pillows in. The house that held 15 years of marriage and memories and apparently lies. It looked the same as always. Blue shutters, white door, small front yard with the garden Sarah never maintained. And I always ended up weeding. It looked like home. It wasn't anymore. I drove north. Portland in April is rain and cherry blossoms, which felt appropriately pathetic for my state of mind. Derek's house was in a neighborhood I didn't know, full of craftsman homes and coffee shops with names like Grounded and Beautiful Day. His wife Amy met me at the door with a hug and no questions, which I appreciated more than I could express. Guest rooms upstairs, she said. Fresh sheets, clean towels. You need anything, just ask. Thanks. We're here for you. Whatever you need, however long you need. I unpacked in a room that wasn't mine, in a house that wasn't mine, in a city that wasn't mine. Everything felt temporary, borrowed, like I was house-sitting my own life. That first night, dear Eric brought me a beer and sat on the edge of the guest bed. You want to talk about it? Not yet. Okay, but when you do, I'm here. He left me alone. I sat in the window and watched rain fall on a street I'd never walked down in a neighborhood I'd never seen. And I felt like I'd accomplished something. I'd extracted myself. I'd created distance. Now I just had to figure out what to do with it. Sarah left for Hawaii on Thursday. I knew because I still had access to our shared calendar and because at 6 a.m. that morning, my phone started buzzing with calls and texts. I didn't answer. Sarah. Jason, please pick up Sarah. We need to talk before I leave. Sarah, please. Sarah, I'm sorry. Sarah, call me. I turned my phone face down and went for a run. Portland was hills and rain and I wasn't used to either. But the burning in my lungs felt good. It felt like something I could control. When I got back, I had 17 missed calls and a voicemail. I listened to it once. Jason, I don't know what to say. I know you're angry. You have every right to be angry. Can we please talk before I leave? I need to explain. It's not what you think. It's please call me back, please. Her voice was thick with tears. Real tears, probably. Sarah had always been good at real tears. I deleted the voicemail, blocked her number, blocked her mother's number, blocked Melissa's number. Michael Chen had said to disappear, so I disappeared. The days in Portland had a strange rhythm. I'd wake up early before dear Eric and Amy and make coffee in their kitchen. I'd sit at their breakfast nook and look at their pictures on the walls, their wedding, their honeymoon in Thailand, various holidays and birthdays, evidence of a functional marriage, proof that it was possible. Derek worked from home, something tech-related that I didn't fully understand. Amy was a nurse, gone for 12-hour shifts that left her exhausted, but somehow still cheerful. They'd been married 8 years. They still kissed goodbye every morning. They still asked about each other's days. I watched them the way you'd watch a nature documentary about some exotic species. Here we see the married couple in their natural habitat, communicating openly and honestly, treating each other with respect and affection. You look like you're taking notes, Amy said one morning, catching me staring. Maybe I am, trying to figure out what I did wrong. She sat down across from me, still in her scrubs from the night shift. Can I tell you something? You probably didn't do anything wrong. Some people are just broken in ways you can't fix. That's bleak. It's realistic. She poured herself coffee, added cream and sugar. When I was in nursing school, they taught us that you can't heal someone who doesn't want to be healed. Same with relationships. You can be the perfect partner, do everything right, and still end up with someone who's choosing to hurt you. So, what do? You save yourself. Then you heal. Then you try again with someone who wants to be saved as much as you do. On Sunday, day 3 of Sarah's Hawaii trip, day 4 of my disappearance, I unblocked my phone just to check. Part curiosity, part masochism, 43 missed calls, 68 text messages, and a series of voicemails that I listened to in chronological order, like some kind of audio documentary of a marriage ending. Day 1, Thursday. Jason, please. I'm at the airport and I'm freaking out. Your note, what do you know? What do you think you know? Please call me. We can figure this out. Day 2, Friday. Okay. I'm in Hawaii and you're still not answering. Mom's asking where you are and I don't know what to tell her. Jason, this isn't fair. At least let me explain. At least give me that. Day 3, Saturday. Fine. You want to be angry? Be angry. But disappearing isn't solving anything. We're married, Jason. We're supposed to talk about things. You can't just run away. The irony of that last one almost made me laugh. I couldn't run away. I wasn't the one who'd booked a vacation without my spouse. I wasn't the one who'd carefully orchestrated being in Hawaii with someone else while my partner stayed home. But the voicemail from Sunday morning was different. Her voice had changed. Less panic, more calculation. Jason, I know you're listening to these. I know you're checking. So, here's what I'm going to tell you. Yes, I messed up. Yes, I should have told you about the plans changing. But you're acting like I committed some horrible crime when really I was just trying to make things easier for everyone. You've been so busy with work, so stressed. And I thought maybe you'd actually appreciate a break. Time to yourself. But clearly I was wrong. Clearly you'd rather make this into some big dramatic thing. So fine. When I get home, we'll talk like adults. Until then, maybe grow up a little. I played that one 3 times. Listened to the way she shifted blame, made herself the victim, turned my hurt into my immaturity. It was masterful, really. The way she could twist reality until up was down and black was white. I called Michael Chen. She's gaslighting me. I said, they usually do. You recording these voicemails? Yes, good. Keep them all and stay disappeared. Don't give her anything to work with. I started walking Portland miles and miles every day, learning the city through my feet. I walked along the Willamette River and through Forest Park. I walked through neighborhoods with names like Pearl District and Hawthorne and Alberta Arts. I walked until my shoes wore through and I had to buy new ones. Walking helped me think. Walking helped me not think. Walking helped time pass. Derek asked me one night what I was planning to do long term. After Sarah came back and we had whatever confrontation was inevitable. I don't know, I said honestly. Divorce, obviously. But then what? Do I move here, go back, start over somewhere completely new? Those are all valid options. They're all terrifying. Yeah, he agreed. Freedom usually is. While Sarah was in Hawaii, while she was presumably having a beautiful time at her sister's wedding, while she was staying in the room I'd paid for, while she was living the life she'd carefully constructed to exclude me, I started investigating. Not in person. I wasn't ready for that kind of confrontation. But digitally, I had access to everything. Our shared cloud storage, her email that she'd never logged out of on our home computer, our joint credit card statements that I could access remotely. I know how this sounds. Invasion of privacy, toxic behavior, all of that. But here's the thing. She'd already invaded my entire life. She'd already excavated our marriage and filled it with lies. So, I did what she'd done to me. I dug through the rubble looking for truth. What I found was worse than I'd imagined. Also better, also more complicated. The credit card charges painted a picture. Azure Restaurant, that $1,200 dinner on March 10th, had a review site where people posted pictures of their meals, couples holding hands over candlelit tables. Romantic atmosphere, perfect for anniversaries and proposals, said the reviews. Sarah and who? I found the answer in her email. A change she'd forgotten to delete or maybe thought I'd never see. Between her and someone named Marcus. The emails went back 18 months. 18 months. While I was working overtime, while I was transferring money for a vacation, while I was being a husband. The emails started professional. Marcus worked in her office, some kind of consultant role. They moved to friendly, then flirty, then explicit. I didn't read all of them. I didn't need to. I got the shape of it. An affair that had started emotional and turned physical somewhere around last summer. But here's what made it worse. What made it cut deeper? Marcus wasn't going to Hawaii. I found that out through a group email chain about the wedding. Melissa had sent it to family only and Sarah had forwarded it to her personal email. The list of attendees was there. No, Marcus. So, if Marcus wasn't in Hawaii, who was sharing that room with Sarah? Or was she alone? Had she really planned an entire vacation just to get away from me to have space from her marriage using money we'd saved together? I called the resort, used the reservation number, asked Patricia, my friend Patricia who'd helped me cancel and rebook, if she could tell me if anyone had checked into the room. Mr. Anderson, I really shouldn't. Please, I just need to know if she checked in alone. A long pause, the sound of typing. 2 guests checked in, Sarah Anderson and Margaret Johnson. Her mother, according to the booking notes, her mother. Sarah had booked a room for her and her mother with money we'd saved for our life together. She'd planned a vacation with her mom to exclude me to actively purposefully leave me out of her family. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry, so I didn't either. I just sat there in Dererick's guest room. With rain falling outside and the truth settling around me like snow, I started writing. Not because I'm a writer. I'm not, but because I needed to organize my thoughts outside my head. If they stayed inside, they'd eat me alive. So, I wrote everything down. A timeline of our marriage, a list of red flags I'd missed, questions I needed answered, things I wanted to say when Sarah came home. The document grew to 20 pages, then 30, then more. It became something like a deposition, evidence I was gathering for a trial, where I was both prosecutor and witness. Derek found me one night at 2 o'clock in the morning typing furiously on my laptop in the kitchen. Can't sleep. Haven't really tried. He read over my shoulder for a minute. That's thorough. I need to understand what happened. I need to see it all laid out. Or maybe you need to accept that you'll never fully understand. Some things don't have the explanations that make sense. That's not good enough. I know. He sat down next to me. But Jason, At some point, you're going to have to stop investigating and start healing. And those are different things. He was right, of course, but I wasn't ready to heal. I was still bleeding. On Wednesday, day 6 of Sarah's vacation, day 7 of my disappearance, I got a text from an unknown number. This is Melissa. I'm borrowing someone's phone because Sarah said you blocked her. Jason, what's going on? Everyone's worried about you. Sarah's a mess. Can you please just call her? I almost didn't respond, but I liked Melissa. She had always been kind to me, and this wasn't her fault. Tell Sarah I'm fine. Tell her we'll talk when she gets home. Tell her to enjoy her vacation. But she's not enjoying it. She's crying all the time. She barely came to the ceremony. Jason, whatever's happening, you guys need to work it out. We will after she gets home. Can you at least tell me what happened? I thought about that. What could I say? Your sister planned a family vacation and didn't include me even though I paid for it. Your sister has been having an affair. Your sister spent 18 months building a separate life that didn't have room for her husband. Ask your sister, I wrote. She knows. I blocked that number, too. The days took on a routine. Morning coffee, long walks, research into my marriage's failure, and evening conversations with Derek and Amy that danced around the real issues. I was living in a holding pattern, waiting for Sarah to come back so we could have whatever confrontation would end this. But in the waiting, something unexpected happened. I started feeling better. Not happy, not whole, but better. Like I'd been holding my breath for years and was finally, slowly learning to breathe again. I slept through the night for the first time in months. I ate meals without my stomach hurting. I laughed at Derek's terrible jokes and Amy's hospital stories. I existed without the constant low-level anxiety that had become so normal. I'd forgotten it wasn't how life was supposed to feel. You seem lighter, Amy observed one evening. We were cooking dinner together. Her teaching me how to make proper Thai curry while dear Eric worked late. I don't feel lighter. I feel hollow. Maybe hollow is lighter. I thought about that while I chopped vegetables. Maybe she was right. Maybe I'd been carrying so much weight for so long that hollow felt like relief. Sarah came home on a Sunday. I knew 'cause I'd been tracking the flight. I still had access to her email. Still had the confirmation number. Flight 427 landing at 6:35 p.m. I didn't go to the airport. I didn't go home. I stayed in Portland in dear Eric's guest room, eating leftover pizza and watching rain streak down the windows. At 8 p.m., my phone started ringing again. Different number. She'd probably borrowed her mother's phone or used a Google number. I didn't answer. At 9:00 p.m. a voicemail. Jason, I'm home and you're not here. Your ring is on the counter. Your note. Jason, where are you? Are you safe? Please, just let me know you're safe. At 10 p.m., another okay, I'm officially freaking out. I called the police, but they said you're not a missing person. You're just gone. Jason, this isn't funny anymore. Come home. Please come home. We need to talk at 11 p.m. Fine, I get it. You want me to suffer. You want me to understand how it feels to not know where someone is or what they're thinking. Point made. You win. Now, please come home or at least tell me where you are. I didn't respond to any of them. I'd made a decision during the week in Portland during all those miles of walking and thinking and writing. I wasn't going to be reactive anymore. I wasn't going to be the one scrambling to explain or defend or understand. Sarah had made her choices. Now she could live with the consequences. Michael Chen called the next morning. Your wife has been trying to reach me. She's worried about you. She's asking if I know where you are. What did you tell her? That you're my client and she should get her own lawyer. But Jason, at some point you need to talk to her. If only to move forward with the divorce proceedings. I know, just not yet. Fair enough, but don't wait too long. Limbo is comfortable until it's not. I came home on a Tuesday. 3 days after Sarah got back from Hawaii, 12 days after I'd left. It felt both too soon and not soon enough. The drive south was long. 5 hours of highway and rain and mental preparation for a conversation I didn't want to have. Dear Eric had offered to come with me for moral support, but this was something I needed to do alone. Our house looked exactly the same. Same blue shutters, same white door, same weeds in the garden that neither of us had ever been good at maintaining. I sat in my car for 10 minutes just looking at it, trying to remember what it felt like when this was home and not just a building where my marriage had died. Sarah's car was in the driveway. She was home waiting. I grabbed my bag, walked to the door, used my key. The house smelled like her perfume and something cooking. She'd made dinner apparently, an offering, a peace treaty, or maybe just normal life continuing despite everything, which was almost worse. She came out of the kitchen when she heard the door. She looked terrible. Good. Terrible, if that makes sense. Like she'd been crying for days, but had recently showered and put on clean clothes and tried to make herself presentable. Her eyes were red and puffy. Her face was thinner, like she hadn't been eating. Good, I thought, and then hated myself for thinking it. Jason, she said just my name. Like a prayer or an accusation. I couldn't tell which. Sarah. We stood there in our own foyer, two people who'd shared a bed for 15 years, and the distance between us felt insurmountable. Can we talk? She asked. That's why I'm here. She led me to the living room. I sat in the chair, not the couch where we usually sat together, but the chair across from it, creating physical space to match the emotional space. I don't know where to start, she said. How about the beginning? How about when you decided to plan a family vacation without me? She flinched. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? She took a breath, let it out. When she spoke, her voice was quiet. It started with my mom. She said something about how expensive the trip was getting. And maybe it would make more sense if it was just blood family. And at first, I told her, no, obviously you were coming. You're my husband. But then she kept bringing it up. And Melissa was stressed about the cost. And I thought maybe if you didn't come, if I went with my mom instead, we could save some money. And you'd been so busy with work, so exhausted. I thought maybe you'd actually want a break. So you decided for me. I was going to tell you I was. But then the months kept passing, and I kept chickening out. And then it was too late. The flights were booked, the room was booked, everything was set. I thought maybe I could just tell you at the last minute, and you'd understand. Except you never told me at all. You were going to let me pack, let me show up at the airport and what? Surprised me with the fact that I didn't have a ticket. She was crying now. I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking. I panicked. I made a mistake. What about Marcus? The name hit her like a physical blow. She actually recoiled. What? Marcus, your coworker, your affair? Did you think I wouldn't find out about that, too? That's over. That ended months ago. When? Before or after you took him to a restaurant for a 10,00 dinner using our money? March. It ended in March. That was me ending it. That was me choosing you. I laughed. Actually laughed because it was either that or scream. You chose me by planning a vacation without me. By spending our savings on clothes and spas and everything except what you told me you were spending it on. That's how you chose me. I know how it looks. You know how it looks. Sarah, I saw the emails. 18 months. You've been sleeping with this guy for 18 months. Lying to me for 18 months. And you want me to believe that you chose me? She was sobbing now. That ugly kind of crying where you can't catch your breath. Part of me, that same stupid loyal part, wanted to comfort her, to cross the space between us and hold her and tell her it would be okay. I stayed in my chair. I love you, she said through the tears. Jason, I love you. I made mistakes, terrible mistakes, but I love you. We can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can work through it. Please, please don't give up on us. Do you know what the worst part is? I said, my voice was calm. Eerily calm. It's not even the affair. It's the Hawaii thing. You took something that should have been a happy family occasion and you turned it into this elaborate plot to exclude me. You let me pay for it. $6,000, Sarah. $6,000. And you let me believe I was going right up until the moment you left. You let me think I was part of your family, part of your life, when really you were trying to figure out how to carve me out of it. That's not true. Then what is true? Because from where I'm sitting, everything you've told me for the past 6 months has been a lie. So why should I believe anything you say now? She didn't have an answer for that. She just cried and I just watched and the space between us grew wider. We talked for hours. Or rather, she talked and I listened. She explained and justified and apologized and promised. She told me about how Marcus had pursued her. How lonely she'd been, how I'd been working so much and she'd felt neglected. She told me about her mother's pressure about the Hawaii trip, how she'd felt caught between her family and me. She told me about how she'd been planning to tell me. Really, she just needed the right moment. I let her talk, let her exhaust herself with explanations. And when she was finally done, when she'd emptied herself of words and excuses and apologies, I spoke. I want a divorce. The words hung in the air like smoke and bell final. No. She shook her head. No, Jason. Please don't do this. Don't throw away 15 years because of a few mistakes. A few mistakes? Sarah, you had an 18-month affair. You planned a vacation designed to exclude me. You stole money from our joint accounts. I didn't steal. It was our money for our life, Not for your affair, not for your private vacation with your mother. While I stayed home like an idiot, I stood up. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not being the understanding husband who forgives and forgets while you do whatever you want. I'm not being the guy who pays for everything while you use that money to build a life that doesn't include me. So that's it. You're just giving up? What about for better or worse? What about till death do us part? Those vows go both ways, Sarah. And you broke them first. I walked toward the stairs, toward the bedroom, toward the closet where I'd pack more of my things because I wasn't staying here. Not tonight. Maybe not ever again. She followed me. Where are you going? Back to Portland. Derek said I can stay as long as I need. You've been in Portland this whole time? Yeah. You let me think. I thought something happened to you. I thought you were hurt or dead or you thought wrong. I was fine. I am fine. I'm better than I've been in months. Actually, that stopped her. She stood in the doorway of our bedroom, not our bedroom anymore, just a room where we used to sleep, and looked at me like I was a stranger. You're different, she said quietly. Yeah, I am. I don't like it. You don't have to. I packed a bag, more clothes, my important documents, some books, things that felt like mine in a house where everything felt like ours. She watched from the doorway, not saying anything, just watching me dismantle our life, one item at a time. As I was zipping up the bag, she spoke. What do I tell people? My family, our friends, what do I say about why you're gone? Tell them the truth. I can't. They'll hate me. Then lie. You're good at that. It was cruel. I knew it was cruel. Even as I said it. But I was so tired of protecting her feelings while mine bled out. I carried my bag downstairs. She followed. At the door, I stopped, turned to face her one last time. For what it's worth, I said, I did love you. Really loved you. I would have done anything for you. I did do everything for you and it wasn't enough. Or maybe it was too much. I don't know anymore. But I'm done trying to figure it out. Jason, I'll have my lawyer contact you about the divorce proceedings. Don't call me. Don't text me. Don't show up in Portland. We'll handle everything through lawyers from now on. That's so cold. Yeah, it is. But you know what's colder? Booking a family vacation and deliberately leaving out your husband. You know what's colder? Letting him pay for it while you someone else. So, excuse me if I'm not particularly warm right now. I opened the door, stepped out into the rain, put my bag in the car, started the engine. Through the windshield, I could see Sarah standing in the doorway of our house. Her house now really, because I was never coming back, crying in the porch light. I put the car in reverse, drove away, didn't look back. The divorce took 9 months. 9 months of lawyers and mediations and dividing up a life we'd built together. 9 months of deciding who got the couch and who got the coffee maker and who got the friends we'd made as a couple. 9 months of feeling like I was dismantling myself piece by piece. Sarah fought it at first, contested the divorce, asked for counseling, sent me long emails that I forwarded to Michael Chen without reading. But eventually, somewhere around month 4, she gave up, signed the papers, agreed to the terms. We split everything down the middle. The house sold, the money divided, the life we'd built liquidated and portioned out like we were settling an estate. By the time it was final, by the time I got the document that said I was legally no longer married, it felt anticlimactic. Just a piece of paper saying what I'd already known. That marriage had died the moment Sarah booked that flight to Hawaii without me. I stayed in Portland. Derek and Amy's guest room became my apartment, became eventually my own place. A small 1-bedroom in the Pearl District with big windows and hardwood floors and nothing in it that reminded me of Sarah. I got a job at a tech company doing project management using skills I developed over 15 years of marriage to organize other people's chaos. I made new friends. I found a therapist. I started rebuilding. But I wasn't happy. Not yet. I was just less unhappy functioning. Going through the motions of life without actually feeling alive. The therapist, a woman named Dr. Patricia Moore, which made me laugh because what were the odds of another Patricia, told me that healing isn't linear. You're going to have good days and bad days, she said during one of our sessions. Days where you feel like you're moving forward and days where you feel like you're back at the beginning. That's normal. That's how this works. How long does it take? There's no timeline. Some people heal in months. Some people take years. Some people never fully heal. They just learn to live with the scar tissue. That's depressing. It's realistic. But here's the thing, Jason. You get to choose what kind of healing you want. You can be bitter and angry and let this define the rest of your life. Or you can process it, learn from it, and eventually move on. Both are valid responses, but only one of them leads to actual happiness. I thought about that a lot in the months after the divorce was finalized. What kind of healing did I want? What kind of person did I want to be on the other side of this? In month 10, March, again, full circle from when this all started, I got a message on LinkedIn from Melissa. Jason, I hope you're doing okay. I know things ended badly with you and Sarah, and I'm so sorry about my part in all of it. I should have told you about the Hawaii situation. I should have pushed back harder when Mom suggested limiting it to blood family. I should have been a better sister-in-law to you. I just wanted you to know that what Sarah did wasn't okay. I've told her that. We've actually had a huge falling out over it. I can't believe she put me in that position. Made me complicit in lying to you. You deserve better. Also, I don't know if you heard, but Sarah and Marcus are together now officially. They moved in together last month. I thought you should know in case it matters, in case it helps with closure or whatever. Take care of yourself. You're a good person and you deserve good things. Melissa, I read that message 5 times. Sarah and Marcus were together. Of course they were. The affair that ended in March had apparently just been on pause until the divorce was final. Or maybe not even on pause. Maybe they'd been together this whole time and I just hadn't known because I'd blocked everyone and stopped paying attention. It should have hurt. Finding out that your ex-wife is now living with the man she cheated on you with should hurt like hell. But it didn't. Or it did, but not the way I expected. It hurt like a door closing, not like a wound opening. It hurt like confirmation of something I already knew, that Sarah had chosen her path and I'd chosen mine, and those paths were never going to cross again. I wrote back to Melissa. Thank you for telling me and for apologizing that you don't owe me that. You weren't the one who made those choices. I hope you and your husband are happy. I hope Hawaii was beautiful. And I hope you know that I never blamed you for any of this. I'm doing okay. Better than okay, actually. Turns out losing everything you thought you wanted is a weird kind of freedom. Take care, Jason. The year anniversary of Sarah leaving for Hawaii, April 15th, fell on a Tuesday. I took the day off work, not because I was sad or angry or nostalgic, but because it felt like a milestone worth marking. I drove to the coast, Oregon's coast, which is nothing like Hawaii, but beautiful in its own way. Rocky and wild and cold, with waves that crash against black stone and wind that cuts through your jacket. I walked along the beach for hours thinking about everything that had happened in the past 12 months. A year ago, I'd been a married man who thought he was going to Hawaii, who thought his wife loved him, who thought his life was stable and predictable and fine. Now I was divorced, living in a new city, working a new job, building a new life. Everything had changed. Everything was different. And somewhere in all that change, I'd found something I hadn't expected. Myself. Not the version of myself that had existed in my marriage. The accommodating husband, the understanding partner, the guy who transferred money and asked no questions and believed every lie because believing was easier than doubt. But a different version, harder, clearer, more honest about what I wanted and what I wouldn't accept. Dr. Moore had asked me once what I'd learned from all of this. The marriage, the betrayal, the divorce, the year of reconstruction. I learned that trust has to be earned. I'd said even in marriage, maybe especially in marriage. What else? I learned that love isn't enough. You can love someone completely and still lose them. You can love someone and they can still hurt you. Love doesn't protect you from anything. That's pretty cynical, maybe, but it's true. She nodded, made a note in her ever-present notebook. So, where does that leave you? If love isn't enough, if trust has to be earned, what do you believe in now? I thought about that for a long time. What did I believe in? I believe in evidence, I'd finally said. I believe in patterns and actions and proof. I believe people show you who they are if you pay attention. And I believe that when someone shows you they don't value you, you should believe them. That's smart. But Jason, don't let what Sarah did make you cynical about everyone. Some people are worth trusting. Some people will value you the way you deserve to be valued. Don't close yourself off to that possibility. Standing on that Oregon beach watching waves crash against rocks, I thought about Dr. Moore's words. Was I closed off? Probably. Did I have walls up that weren't there before? Definitely. But were those walls permanent? Did they have to be? I didn't know. What I did know was that I wasn't ready to tear them down yet. Maybe I'd never be ready. Maybe I'd spend the rest of my life keeping people at arm's length, protecting myself from ever being that vulnerable again. Or maybe, and this felt like a radical thought, maybe I'd meet someone someday who made those walls feel like a cage instead of protection. Someone who made me want to risk it all again despite knowing exactly how badly it could go. But not today. Today I was just a divorced guy standing on a beach, marking the anniversary of the day his wife chose a vacation over her marriage. Today I was just surviving, which was enough. I came back from the coast feeling not better exactly, but resolved like I'd closed a chapter. The divorce was final. Sarah had moved on. I was building a new life. The story should have ended there. It didn't. 2 days after my anniversary beach trip, dear Eric came into the living room where I was working on my laptop. He had his phone in his hand and a strange expression on his face. "You need to see this," he said. "See what?" He handed me his phone. On the screen was a Facebook post from Melissa. Public, visible to everyone. It was a photo of her and her husband on a beach in Kauai, sunset in the background, both of them smiling, beautiful. But that wasn't what dear Eric was showing me. It was the comment thread underneath, specifically a comment from Sarah's mother, Margaret, responding to someone who'd asked about the wedding. It was beautiful, but unfortunately marred by some family drama. Sarah's husband, Jason, refused to come at the last minute and caused a lot of stress for everyone. Very disappointing behavior from someone we'd all grown to love. Some people just can't handle not being the center of attention. I read it 3 times, then I read the replies. Oh no, what happened? Margaret, I'd rather not get into it, but let's just say some people can't be happy for others. That's terrible. Poor Sarah. Margaret? Yeah, she's been having a hard time. The divorce has been very difficult on her, but she's strong. She'll get through it. I handed the phone back to Derek. Well, that's interesting. Interesting. Jason, she's telling everyone you're the bad guy. She's making it sound like you ditched the wedding. She is. Aren't you angry? Was I angry? I thought about it. Felt around inside myself for rage or hurt or indignation. Found something else instead. A kind of cold, clear determination. No, I said slowly. I am not angry. But I think it's time people knew the truth. I spent the next week gathering everything. Every document, every screenshot, every piece of evidence I'd collected over the past year. The bank statements showing where Sarah had actually spent our money. The emails between her and Marcus, dated and explicit. The flight confirmations showing I'd never been booked on that Hawaii trip. The recording of my call with the resort where they confirmed Sarah had checked in with her mother, not me. I organized it all into a document, professional, clean, chronological, no emotional language, no accusations, just facts dated and sourced telling the story of what had actually happened. Then I wrote a cover letter, short, direct, to friends and family. My name is Jason Anderson. Many of you know me as Sarah's ex-husband. Some of you have heard various stories about why our marriage ended and why I wasn't at Melissa's wedding in Hawaii last year. I'm writing to provide you with accurate information. As recent comments suggest, there's confusion about what actually occurred. Attached, you'll find a detailed timeline with supporting documentation. Hey Shin, I'm not sharing this to hurt anyone or to be vindictive. I'm sharing it because I believe people deserve to know the truth through that and because public statements have been made that misrepresent what happened. The facts are simple. I was never invited to the Hawaii wedding despite being married to Sarah at the time. I paid for my wife's trip $6,000 plus believing I would be attending. I discovered the exclusion days before departure. The exclusion was deliberate and planned for months. Sarah was involved in an affair during our marriage. All of this is documented in the attached files. I've included sources for every claim. You're welcome to verify anything you read here. I'm not asking for sympathy or taking sides. I'm simply providing facts that were deliberately hidden from me and from you. What you do with this information is up to you. Respectfully, Jason Anderson. I read it over 10 times. Had Michael Chen read it to make sure I wasn't opening myself up to any legal issues. Had Dr. Moore read it to make sure I wasn't doing this from a place of revenge rather than justice. Why do you want to send this? Dr. Moore asked during our session. Because she's been telling people I'm the bad guy. Because her mother is publicly lying about what happened. Because I spent 15 years being the person who took the high road and stayed quiet. And look where that got me. So this is revenge. This is truth. There's a difference, is there? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you want to hurt her the way she hurt you. Maybe I do. Is that so wrong? Dr. Moore was quiet for a moment. No, it's human. But Jason, you need to be really clear about why you're doing this. If you're doing it to heal, to reclaim your narrative, to stop the lies, those are valid reasons. If you're doing it to destroy her, to make her suffer, to get revenge, that might feel good in the moment, but it won't heal you. It'll just create more pain. So, you think I shouldn't send it? I think you should be honest with yourself about your motivations. And then do whatever you need to do. I thought about her words for 3 more days. What were my motivations? Did I want to hurt Sarah? Yes. Did I want Margaret to face consequences for lying? Absolutely. Did I want everyone to know what really happened? Desperately. But underneath all of that, what I really wanted was simpler. I wanted to not be a liar's footnote. I wanted my story to be told in my own words, not filtered through Sarah's revisionist history. I wanted the truth to exist somewhere other than in my own head and in documents only my lawyer had seen. So, I sent it, not to everyone. I'm not that cruel, but to key people. Melissa, who'd apologized and deserved to know the full story. Sarah's close friends who'd been making supportive comments on her social media. A few mutual friends who'd stayed neutral during the divorce. And yes, I sent one to Margaret because she'd started this by making public accusations. I attached all the documentation, every screenshot, every bank statement, every email that proved what I was saying was true. Then I closed my laptop and waited for the explosion. It took less than an hour. My phone started blowing up. Not with angry messages, those would come later, but with shocked responses from people who'd had no idea. Jason, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. Sarah told us you'd backed out of the trip at the last minute because of work. This is insane. I can't believe she did this to you. Why didn't you tell us this before? That last one came from a friend we'd made as a couple. Tom, someone I'd considered close. I responded honestly because I was ashamed. Because I thought if I stayed quiet and took the high road, eventually the truth would come out on its own. Because I didn't want to seem bitter or petty. But staying silent just let lies flourish. The responses kept coming. Some supportive, some confused, some angry on my behalf. But the one that mattered, the one I was waiting for, came from Melissa. Jason, I just read everything. I'm sitting here literally crying. I had no idea it was this bad. Sarah told us you knew about the plans changing, that you were okay with it because of work, that the divorce was mutual. I don't even have words. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I didn't push harder, didn't question more, didn't see what was happening. You deserved so much better. Also, I deleted my mom's comment and blocked her from my posts until she apologizes to you publicly. What she said was not okay. I stared at that message for a long time, an apology I'd never asked for, from someone who'd never really wronged me. It felt like vindication and sadness mixed together, bitter and sweet in equal measure. The fallout was spectacular in the way natural disasters are spectacular. You can't look away even though you know you should. Margaret called me directly, which was bold considering I'd blocked her number a year ago and she had to use someone else's phone. I answered because I was curious what she'd say. Jason, how dare you? No, I interrupted. Mel, you don't get to how dare me. You don't get to lie about me publicly and then be upset when I correct the record with facts. You've humiliated my daughter. Your daughter humiliated herself. I just documented it. Every single thing in that document is true, Margaret. You know it's true. Sarah knows it's true. The only people who didn't know it was true were the ones you'd been lying to. This is vindictive and cruel. You know what's cruel? Letting your son-in-law pay for a family vacation and then excluding him from it. You know what's cruel? Publicly saying he refused to come when you know damn well he was never invited. You want to talk about cruelty, Margaret? Let's talk about 18 months of an affair. Let's talk about emotional abandonment. Let's talk about financial manipulation. Let's talk about all the things your daughter did that you've been covering up and excusing and enabling. She was silent. I could hear her breathing heavy and angry. If you ever, I continued, my voice cold. If you ever publicly lie about me again, I'll send that document to your entire social circle, your church group, your book club, everyone. Because I kept the receipts, Margaret, I have proof of everything. So, you can either accept that your daughter made choices that ended our marriage, or you can keep lying and find out what happens when I stop being nice. I hung up, blocked the number she was calling from. Felt something like satisfaction settle in my chest. Sarah texted me from a new number later that day. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity went out. You're destroying my life. I'm correcting lies, I wrote back. Not the same thing. Everyone hates me now. My friends, my family, even Melissa's barely speaking to me. Maybe you should have thought about that before you orchestrated a year-long deception. I made mistakes. I admitted that. I apologized. What more do you want? I wanted you to stop lying about what happened. I wanted you to stop painting me as the villain. I wanted people to know the truth. That's all. By humiliating me, by airing our private business to everyone. I stared at that message. The audacity of it. The sheer audacity. Sarah, you made our business public when your mother started posting lies about me on Facebook. You made it public when you told mutual friends I'd abandon the wedding. You made it public every time you played the victim instead of taking responsibility. I didn't make this public. You did. I just made sure the public version was accurate. I hate you. Good. We're even then. I blocked that number, too. Changed my own number the next day just to be safe. Fresh start. Clean slate. No more texts from my past trying to pull me back into drama I'd finally escaped. I'm writing this from a coffee shop in Portland. It's raining. It's always raining in Portland, and I'm watching people hurry past the windows with their umbrellas and their coffee cups and their normal uncomplicated lives. It's been 2 years since Sarah left for Hawaii without me. 1 year since the divorce was finalized, 6 months since I sent that document and burned down the lies she'd built around our marriage's ending. People ask me sometimes if I regret it, sending the truth out into the world, destroying whatever narrative Sarah had carefully constructed. The answer is complicated. Do I regret the hurt it caused? Yes and no. I regret that it was necessary. I regret that I trusted someone for 15 years who didn't deserve it. I regret all the years I spent being accommodating and understanding and blind. But do I regret making sure people knew what really happened? No, not even a little bit. Because here's what I learned in the year I vanished. In the year I spent rebuilding myself from the ground up. Silence protects the guilty. Staying quiet, taking the high road, being the bigger person, all of those things just give liars room to operate. All of those things mean the person who cares least about the truth gets to define it. And I was done letting other people define my story. The aftermath of sending that document was messy. Sarah lost friends, not all of them, but enough. Margaret had to make a public apology on Facebook, which she clearly hated, but Melissa insisted on. Marcus and Sarah broke up 3 months after the truth came out, apparently unable to survive the scrutiny of everyone knowing how their relationship started. I won't lie and say none of that gave me satisfaction. It did. There's a particular kind of justice in watching someone face consequences for their actions after spending so long watching them avoid those consequences. But more than that, more than any revenge or vindication, what I got from telling the truth was freedom. Freedom from being the secret keeper, the one protecting everyone else's comfort at the expense of my own truth. Freedom from carrying the weight of lies that weren't even mine. Dr. Moore says I'm doing well. Better than well. She says most people who go through what I went through take years to recover, and I'm already building a healthy, functional life. She says I should be proud. I'm not sure about proud, but I am sure about one thing. I'm different now. Different than I was when I was married. Different than I was even a year ago when I first disappeared. I'm harder, more careful, more suspicious. I verify everything now. Trust slowly. Keep receipts for everything from conversations to financial transactions. Some people might call that paranoid. I call it learned wisdom. But I'm also softer in some ways, more open to the idea that not everyone is like Sarah. More willing to believe that good people exist, even if I haven't let many of them close yet. More hopeful about the possibility of building something real with someone who deserves it. Dear Eric says I'm ready to start dating again. Amy agrees. They've even tried to set me up with some of Amy's nurse friends, kind women who've seen enough at work that my divorce story doesn't even faze them. I haven't taken them up on it yet. Maybe soon. Maybe when the anniversary of the divorce passes and I feel like I've fully closed that chapter. Or maybe I'm just making excuses because the truth is I'm still a little bit broken, still healing, still figuring out who I am as a single person in my 40s, starting over in a city that isn't home, but also isn't not home. Last week, I ran into someone at a bookstore. Literally ran into her. I was backing out of an aisle with a stack of books and walked straight into someone doing the same thing. Books went everywhere. We both apologized. Both bent down to pick things up. Both laughed at the absurdity of it. Her name was Olivia. She was pretty in an understated way with glasses and curly hair and paint under her fingernails. She was buying books on art history and restoration. I was buying mysteries and a book about Japanese philosophy. Good taste, she said, nodding at my stack. You too? You an artist? Restorer? Actually, I work at the museum. You, project manager, technology, much less interesting than art restoration. We talked for 20 minutes in that bookstore aisle, and it was easy, comfortable. She was funny and smart, and when she smiled, her whole face lit up. And when we finally exchanged numbers, casual, friendly, no pressure, I realized I was excited about the possibility of seeing her again. Not because I want to jump into a relationship. No, not because I'm looking for someone to fix the parts of me Sarah broke, but because for the first time in 2 years, I met someone who made me think that maybe eventually I could try again. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday. And that feels like healing. If you've made it this far, if you've read this entire story about betrayal and disappearance and reconstruction, you might be wondering what the moral is. What's the takeaway? What am I supposed to learn from Jason's story? Here's what I learned. What I want you to know if you ever find yourself in a situation like mine: first, trust your instincts. That feeling I had at Christmas when Melissa mentioned Sarah might come alone, that twist in my stomach when Sarah wouldn't forward the confirmation emails, those were my instincts, screaming at me that something was wrong. I ignored them. Don't ignore yours. Second, love requires more than love. It requires respect. It requires honesty. It requires two people actively choosing each other every single day. Love without those things is just a word, just empty air shaped into something that sounds pretty. Third, financial transparency is non-negotiable. When Sarah asked to handle the booking, I should have insisted on seeing the confirmations. I should have checked the bank accounts monthly. I should have been an active participant in our finances instead of a passive contributor. Money isn't romantic, but financial deception is often the foundation for every other kind of deception. Fourth, silence protects the guilty. I spent months being quiet, taking the high road, not telling anyone what really happened. All that did was allow Sarah to control the narrative. If someone is lying about you, you have every right to correct that lie with truth. You don't have to be cruel about it, but you also don't have to protect people who aren't protecting you. Fifth, disappearing isn't running away. Sometimes it's saving yourself. When I left for Portland, Sarah called it abandonment. But what I was actually doing was creating space to think clearly, to gather information, to protect myself from further manipulation. Sometimes you need to remove yourself from a situation before you can see it clearly. Sixth, document everything. Every conversation, every financial transaction, every promise made and broken. Not because you're paranoid, but because if things go wrong, you'll need proof. Truth without evidence is just your word against theirs. Other people's behavior is not a reflection of your worth. Sarah cheated because of who she is, not because of who I am. She lied because lying was easier than honesty for her. She excluded me because she wanted to. None of that. None of it means I wasn't a good husband. It just means I was a good husband to the wrong person. Eighth, healing isn't linear and it isn't quick. It's been 2 years and I'm still figuring out how to trust people. I'm still having days where the betrayal feels fresh, where I wonder what I could have done differently. And that's okay. There's no timeline for recovering from having your life dismantled by someone you loved. Ninth, you can't save a relationship alone. I tried. God, I tried. I was understanding and accommodating and patient. I transferred money and asked no questions and believed every explanation. But relationships require two people trying. One person cannot carry the entire weight. 10th. Sometimes the best revenge is simply telling the truth. I didn't have to embellish or exaggerate or invent anything. I just had to share what actually happened with documentation and let people draw their own conclusions. The truth was damning enough on its own. And finally, most importantly, you are allowed to start over. You are allowed to leave a situation that's destroying you. You're allowed to walk away from people who don't value you. You are allowed to build a new life in a new place with new people who actually give a damn about your well-being. You're allowed to vanish and then reappear as someone different, someone harder and softer in all the right places. Someone who knows their worth and won't settle for less anymore. That's what I did. That's what this whole story has been about. Not revenge, though that was part of it. Not anger, though that was there, too. But mostly, it's been about reclaiming myself from a marriage that was slowly erasing me. I still think about Sarah sometimes. Wonder if she's happy with whatever life she's built. Wonder if she ever truly understood what she destroyed. I wonder if she tells herself a different story, one where she's still the victim and I'm still the villain. Probably she does. People rarely see themselves as the antagonist in their own story, but that's not my problem anymore. She's not my problem anymore. What she thinks, what she feels, what narrative she's constructed to absolve herself, none of that touches me now. I'm in Portland living my life. Slowly learning how to be okay again. And that's enough for now. That's more than enough. The rain has stopped. The coffee shop is closing. I need to pack up my laptop and head home to the apartment that's mine in the city I chose. Living the life I rebuilt from scratch. Tomorrow I might text Olivia, see if she wants to grab coffee, talk about art restoration and Japanese philosophy and nothing heavy or complicated. See if that spark I felt in the bookstore was real, or just my imagination desperate for connection. Or maybe I won't. Maybe I'll wait another month, another year, another decade. Maybe I'll never be ready to try again. But I have the option now. I have the choice. And that the simple freedom to choose my own path without someone else steering from behind the scenes, that's worth everything I lost to get here. If you're reading this and you're in a situation like mine, if someone you love is lying to you, stealing from you, excluding you, making you question your own reality, I want you to know something. You're not crazy. You're not overreacting. Your instincts are probably right and you're allowed to save yourself. Even if it means disappearing for a year. Even if it means blowing up your entire life. Even if it means starting over from nothing. You're allowed. I'm proof of that. I vanished. I rebuilt. I survived. And so can you.